What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben. I am your host, and I'm also the CEO of Ironclad Restoration Marketing, where we help restoration business owners get more sales just by getting their internet marketing right. We're back. We've taken a little bit of a hiatus. We've been moving offices. So if you can see, I've got a little bit of a different background going on. It's still a work in progress, but I thought it was important to sit down and record this episode because we've been talking to a lot of guys lately and keep running into the same issues. Your internet marketing sucks. Listen, it's never going to be perfect, but there are a lot of people we talk to that are dealing with the same problems over and over and over. We can almost write down before we talk to people what they're struggling with just based off of a quick conversation. And today we wanted to address all of that. We want to talk about why your internet marketing sucks or your any kind of marketing sucks. And more so, I want to provide some solutions of what you can do about it. Like I said, it's never going to be perfect. You need to make incremental adjustments to things, measure the data, and things will ultimately get better. Now, with all of the external changes out there, I'm going to go ahead and share. If you're watching us on YouTube or LinkedIn, or you're checking this out on Instagram, I'm going to share a little slide here that's going to show you and walk you through some of the problems that we see. If you're listening in, tune into the YouTube later on. Just pay attention because I'm sure that some of this is going to resonate with you. And this is something that you might have been dealing with yourself or have dealt with in the past. You wouldn't be listening to this unless you took offense to your marketing sucks. And in that case, just listen anyways. You might get something out of this at the end of the day, whether you think it sucks or not. All right. So the problem. So after talking to guys every single day and ladies out there that own restoration companies, keep running into and seeing the same issues from each one of them, right? So the big one, and we can all maybe relate to this, that you spend a lot of time and money on marketing, okay? And if you're a one or two man show, you only got a couple crews, that's a huge time suck. And that's time taken away from being able to make sure your crews are doing well, going out and prospecting, building relationships with, public adjusters and insurance companies and all these different areas that you need to be doing, these verticals that you need to do to get more work into your business. You're spending a lot of time and money. You may be the guy that's staying up all night long, reading my book, learning how to do this internet marketing stuff yourself, teaching yourself web development like I did at some point in my life, teaching yourself SEO, the ins and outs of pay-per-click, trying to figure out why your ads aren't performing. Either way, it's a lot of time. Now, on the other hand, you could be spending a lot of money. Listen, you're fortunate in a lot of ways to be in the restoration industry, in the service-based industry that helps people through catastrophic property damage. You have you lessen the buyer's journey a little bit on your end, but the problem with it is there's a lot of competition. Wherever there's money to be made out there, especially in the service industry, there's a lot of competition. I live in South Florida. Air conditioning companies is a very competitive market down here. So, like them, you need to be on top of things 100%, or at least be able to trust somebody to be on top of those things for you. So either way, big problem I see, a lot of guys just don't have the time, don't have the money to do this effectively, right? And with that, you end up not getting the results that you expect. Whether you've mismanaged your own expectations, and that happens a lot. It's not always a company or a person you've hired promising you the world, delivering zero, although that does happen a lot. I would say a lot of the problem is you just don't have the right expectations, right? You're just assuming, hey, I'm spending this money, I want this back. And that's not the way it works. In the world that we live in today, there's rarely a direct response type of marketing. All right. So, and what that does is it forces you to make changes. So whether the changes come because you have lack of budget or experience, or you've mismanaged your expectations, or the other factor is, things change. Digital marketing landscapes change every single day. Big, for instance, is December, January this year, this major core algorithm update that Google rolled out, specifically targeting Google Business Profile. It forces you to make some changes. It's like getting dunked way underwater by a wave at the beach. And trying to figuring out a way to swim back to the top, or getting involved in an avalanche. I mean, that's kind of how it hits you. And it hits us too. We're a digital marketing agency. That's why we have to have our fingers on the pulse. We have our teams here to be able to figure out what happens, because Google does a very good job at hiding what they're doing. They sprinkle in little hints that things are going to happen. And so you can do your best to stay on top of things. And always the best thing to do is do it the right way. But at the end of the day, you're forced to make changes, whether they're from external things or internal things. Another big issue we see is, are you a guy or a lady out there that just checks the box, right? You're a the best restorer in the world. You've got operations down to a point. You know how to get paid. You know how to invoice. You know how to hire. You've got great project managers, and you don't care about digital marketing, right? You do know that you need to have it. So you just check a box like, I'll just get a website. And you hired some Joe Schmo, or somebody promises you the world, or a big one is people hire IT companies to do this stuff, and they could get you a website. I mean, that's no different than calling a GC, getting on a phone and saying, hey, just build me a house, and then hanging up the phone and not giving any other details. You need to have a purpose behind what you do. So if you're just a box checker, like, you might listen to me and say, well, I need SEO, and I need Google Business Profile Management, and I need pay-per-click, and you just don't do your due diligence to kind of understand how that all works in the major landscape of what you do, you're just checking a box, right? It's like the people that get married together. They get that dog, they have a couple kids, they're not happy, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just checking a box. I've checked the box, I've done it. You don't want to be that. Another big problem at the end of the day too, your phone's not ringing. So you're slow. You're not getting any work. Your leads are drying up. Even your lead gen companies are not getting you anything, which is what's happening right now. I'm sure if you've been buying leads from some of the people that sell leads, you're noticing that either they're really crappy or they're not coming in at all. And again, to reiterate, your competition is growing every day. Wherever there is money, people are going to start businesses, and that just saturates the market in your areas. And if you're already somebody that's just trying to keep your head above the water, you're going to have some major problems. So we're going to dive into why you may be having these problems and try to maybe answer some questions that you might have and kind of figure out, brainstorm together. We'll go on this journey together and figure out what you can do about this stuff. But we're going to talk about the problems and why first, because I think it's important to make sure that this resonates with everybody out there, because these are all things that, look, it's not just you. I've struggled with this stuff. I'm an entrepreneur. I've owned different types of businesses, and we've been in the digital marketing space for close to 8 years now, specifically marketing for restoration contractors for over 5. So listen, we've gone through these issues before, so everything that we speak right here, this is something that we've lived, or these are our experiences dealing with other contractors. So number one, we're going to start, listen, you're all into home services, but in some regard, you're in construction. You know what infrastructure is, and we spelled it wrong because it shows you that you may have a poor infrastructure, right? So basically, it all starts out with a plan. If you don't have a plan, you have nothing. You can't formulate a plan. You can't formulate a way to execute that plan. And you never have any KPIs or performance indicators to understand if you're on the right track or not. Right. So it all starts with the foundation. You don't have a good foundation, you can't build. So, I know in a webinar before, in a couple of these episodes, I talk about in 78, this Harvard study that they put out, where they interviewed like 100 graduates. 7% of them had a plan, hey, I want to do this when I grow up, and that's it, and 3% actually had a plan with a plan of action and a way to execute it. Right. So 7% had an idea they wanted to do when they graduated, but 3% actually wrote down a plan and wrote down a way to get there. And the results ended up being that something like the 7% that out of the 100 that knew what they wanted to do, they were making double what the other 90% of people were doing out of that class that really had no idea. Like a lot of college kids, they don't know what they want to be when they grow up. I mean, hell, a lot of adults don't know what we want to be when we grow up. But the 3% that actually had a plan and had like a way to execute that, they were making 10 times more than the whole other 93% of that graduating class. And I go back to it a lot because it does shed light on why you need to have a plan. You have no way, and this is going to go into some tracking and measuring when we talk about this a little bit. But how can you track and measure something when you don't have incremental key performance indicators or KPIs along the way, and you don't have a plan? You don't know what you want, right? And everybody wants, Liz, what I want more calls. I want more leads. Well, what do you mean? What does that mean? What kind of calls? Do you want people that live in an apartment calling you and saying they found mold under their sink, and then you are going to call back and like, well, these people have no way to pay me. And, we have to get a hold of the property manager or the landlord, and they're going to just hang the phone up on you because they have somebody else in place. No, you need qualified calls. You need to have an idea of what you want, right? The other big thing is, from an infrastructure standpoint, and specifically for digital marketing, is you don't have a website, or you have a bad website, the bad websites. I mean, we see them all the time. We even look at websites we built 5 years ago for clients, and we hate them because not only have design trends changed, but so many different features and capabilities and how people react and the user experience change constantly. So you got to have at least a good foundation I want you to go, if you think your website might suck, it probably does. Refer back a few episodes ago, and actually a couple of webinars on Ironclad Restoration Marketing. I'll walk you through what you need to look for in a website, your basics, right? A big one, moving on to the next thing. So you don't have a website, or it's an ugly website. It's you're kind of, it's a non-starter. You're not ever going to be able to rank on Google. And if you do, people are going to look at your website and just think you're a joke, right? It's like driving around an old 86 beat up piece of crap vehicle and pulling up to somebody's house and no business cards, pants hanging around your ankles, no shirt on, a cigarette hanging out of your mouth. They're probably going to be like, these guys probably aren't going to be for me. Another big one, you got to make sure, you want to make sure your device responsive, or, mobile optimized website. You won't even get indexed on Google if you don't have a mobile optimized website. But even, I don't know, it's been 6 years or maybe even more now since that update. There's an algorithm update that does a mobile first indexing. So it's been 6 years and people still don't have mobile friendly websites. Just think about how people find you. They're going to pull their phones out. How do you find businesses if you don't know about them? You're going to pull your phone out. You're going to go on Google. You might be in front of your computer. You might go on Google, but either way, you go on Google. Well, Google's not going to index your website if it's not mobile friendly. The other part of that is, just to nail back the mobile optimization. Think about if you're in an area like, the South, like where we're at, we have a hurricane that blows through and wipes everybody's power out. A lot of times you still have your cell phone, you still have cell service. I mean, we've had issues where that didn't happen in the past, but they're going to get on their phone. You want to make it easy for them to be able to get in touch with you. The other thing about that, moving right along, is your bad user experience. User experience is a major part of any sales process. Okay. Your user experience on your website is fundamental, goes right back to the infrastructure, right back to the foundation. People need to be able to find what they want on your website as quickly as possible. And in your industry, you want to make that very easy for them to do, right? So you want to look above the fold. The first thing they see when they go to your website should be something about what you do. It should have your logo, should have a click to call button, and it should have some semblance of what you do to help them with their problem. Okay. UX now is a big part of Google's ranking factor. So Google actually has, if you go to Page Speed Insights or Google Page Speed Insights, throw your website in there and see what kind of score you're getting. If your hosting is slow, that lends to bad user experience. That means people have to wait for your website to load, and they don't want to wait. We live in a microwave society. We don't have to wait for anything anymore. It's awesome. You got to do the same thing with your website. It'd be like somebody walking up to you and saying, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And you go, well, like they're going to tune you right out. Your website has to be concise, and part of the buyer's journey, but also because it's a ranking factor. So make sure your hosting is fast. Make sure that people can get what they need off your website as quickly as possible. I don't care if you're a restoration contractor or you're selling something on your website. Think about how people are going to use your website and what you want them to do, and put that at the forefront. Another thing we see a lot is you just have the wrong content on your website. You may be guilty of this. In fact, I think like 70% of the people we talk to are guilty of this. They just don't have the right content. Look, if you want to rank on Google for a specific service, so you want to be a water damage restoration contractor, mold removal, and fire, the big three, you got to have separate pages on your website with keyword-rich content that talks about that service if you want to get ranked. A lot of guys we see out there have a great looking website. You click on services, they just have a basic services page and they just bullet list everything they can do for you. Well, that's wonderful, right? If somebody can find your website, but there's a good chance you won't get ranked for each one of those specific services in your area if you don't have at least 500 words of content for each one of those services that you want to rank for. Okay. Remember, Google's a librarian. So if you just handed a librarian a book and the cover of the book had a bullet list of, said Abraham Lincoln on it, West Palm Beach, Florida, computer desk, I'm just picking lamp, carpet. What the hell is that librarian? Where are they going to file that? They're just going to throw it in a big pile probably, right? Or throw it in the trash. Got to look at Google the same way. Got to make it easy for them to crawl and index your website. And if you're too generic and you don't have enough content, it will not get indexed. Not only that, but back to the user experience part of this is people aren't going to know what the hell you do, right? If they can even find your website at all. The other thing is you may have a separate page for each one of your services. You might not have enough content. you might be trying to stuff thousands of keywords into that content, or it looks like a 4-year-old wrote it. All that stuff is gonna negatively impact your rankings, and it also is gonna negatively impact your conversion rate. How people convert from web traffic to a phone call to you. Okay, so you have to write this stuff genuinely, provide value. We have a lot of resources out there to teach you kind of what kind of content. It's in my book, but it's really just common sense. If you want to rank for a specific service, have the right kind of content on your website. If you do keyword stuff, guys used to do this in the past. There actually was an algorithm update for that. So we talk about making changes and being forced to make changes. That's a big one. You used to be able to throw a bunch of keywords in a footer of a website and get a free ride on Google. Well, that's not the case anymore. All right. Zip codes, guys, I see websites with zip codes plugged all over them. It does nothing for you. It just has a bunch of numbers on your website. Okay. So you have to have the right content. Another big one we see is you guys don't own your own domain, right? You've relied on an agency or some kid down the street to buy a domain on your behalf, and you don't own it. Meaning, if you want to sever that business tie down the road, and you do it legitimately, you're pretty much at somebody else's mercy. And there's a good chance if you're not happy with them and your business relationship sours, they're going to probably make it kind of difficult for you to get a hold of that domain again. So make sure you own your own domain. Again, I put it this way. If you were just starting out your restoration business, you wouldn't allow somebody else to open a business in their name, would you? Probably not. So you don't want to do that with your website. Hosting's the same thing. Sign up for your own hosting account. We use hxchosting.com. They're great. But look, if you're going to go buy a domain on a registrar like GoDaddy, they have hosting right there. It's cheap. It's not the best option in the world, but at least you have control. At the end of the day, you want to hold the keys to all of your different assets, and your domain and your hosting account are major assets. All right. So remember, when it comes to why your marketing sucks, you just have a poor infrastructure. It's just like building. If you don't have a good foundation, you're only going to build so high. All right. The other big thing is guys just aren't doing the right thing, right? A lot of guys out there, a lot of restoration contractors have their head in the sand. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this, you're really good at restoring. You're really good at what you do. So rather than learn about marketing, and the other big aspect of your business is how you're going to get business, you just stick your head in the sand and just hope somebody else is going to do it, right? The mentality would be, well, I'm paying somebody else to do it. They're professionals, let them do it. Well, that's not a good option. Nobody's perfect. Everybody drops the ball sometimes, and nobody is going to know your business and know your service area like you do. So I implore you to soak things like this up. Soak this podcast in. Check out our YouTube. There's a ton of really great resources. There's a ton of really good Facebook groups that teach you this stuff and what to look for. And you should have some sort of knowledge, whatever the case may be, on what it is you actually need to be doing to get where you need to go, so you can hold people accountable. All right. The other thing is you just don't stick to a plan, right? So when I talked about the Harvard grads that made plans and you wrote your plan down, well, I do it and I'm guilty of it. I write lists of stuff that I need to do, whether it's the honey-do list or work stuff. And, you look at it and you're like, hey, I got to get that done. And then all these other things happen, right? You get in, you got a bunch of emails, somebody quit, you got to run around, you got to manage all these projects, and all that stuff gets pushed to the side. Well, that's not sticking with your plan. Now, part of your plan should encompass things like that pop up. All right. So you got to stick to a plan. Another thing we see is people trusting the wrong people, the wrong information, the wrong companies. And look, that's kind of hard to avoid. In some regard, you have to build some level of trust with whoever you're going to work for. I mean, it's the same thing as a homeowner that you're going to restore their property damage, right? You have to build a level of trust. You do that with your branding. You do that with your website. You do that with your personality, how you close the sales, your project managers. You're building trust. So it's unavoidable. Sometimes things just slip through the cracks, but sometimes things are just so blatantly obvious that it's just mind-boggling to me how you even, certain people we talk to even go down that road. I'll give you a great example. Using a digital marketing agency, right? And then you look at that company's website, and their website's not even mobile optimized. Their website looks like crap. They don't have an SSL. They don't have all these things that are just fundamental. Most of these things come right out the box with building a website. If you use WordPress, like a lot of this stuff's just built into it. So that's a red flag right there. Looking at websites, we do website audits all the time. By the way, if you want a free website audit, drop us a comment or email us. We'll be happy to do one for you. But when we do these video analysis in a website SEO audit, your digital marketing audit, I can't tell you how many times we're just looking at the most fundamental things. Some of the worst things we've seen is somebody says, yeah, we've been paying this agency for 2 years. Things just aren't really going that great. We're really getting most of our referrals from roofers, blah, 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 blah. We're paying them. They're doing SEO. They're doing a great job as far as we can tell. And we go and look at our website. They don't even have Google Analytics installed on the website. So by what metric are you figuring that they're doing a good job? They don't have the basics. They don't have separate pages for each one of the services. They're not blogging. They don't have city landing pages. They don't have these fundamentals. Their H1 tags, their metadata is all wrong in the background. So trusting the wrong people, again, that lends to you educating yourself. That goes back to you. Keep your head out of the sand. All right. Educate yourself. The other big thing is you got to measure and track your data properly. Mentioned Google Analytics a minute ago. If you don't have Google Analytics on your website, how are you tracking your traffic? Are you just, are you one of those guys that just says, well, my phone's ringing, I'm busy, everything's working? You're a box checker. You don't really know where that traffic's coming from, and you should. How do you know that your, digital agency or your employee is doing the right thing? How do you know that your website's healthy? How do you know that your competition is not going to just overtake you any day? So you got to make sure you're doing the right things, keep your head out of the sand, and track your data properly. All right, another big one. SEO, the big nasty 3-letter word, or pay-per-click. People just aren't utilizing them properly, right? You either ignore your SEO, you don't see the need, right? Hey, I'm busy right now. I got a plumber sending me all kinds of work. What happens when that plumber goes away? What happens when somebody steps in with a better offer or kickback from you, or however that relationship works? What happens when that guy goes away? Where are you at? You're back to square one. So you can't ignore SEO. It's how people find you, guys. As much as you may hate it, you may have been burned in the past. We see it a lot. You might have been that guy that's been paying somebody for 3 or 4 years and not getting crap out of it. It doesn't matter. You need it. SEO is the most fundamental, crucial part of your digital marketing strategy. It needs to be. And so is pay-per-click. Pay-per-click is getting you leads right now. The name of the game is taking up as much real estate on page 1 of Google as possible. How do you do that? Well, you utilize search engine optimization. That's all SEO is. It's optimizing your website and positioning your content to rank higher on the first page of Google for as many different things that you provide. Pay-per-clicks can get you up there in the ad section. The beauty about pay-per-click is you can turn it on and off as you need it, right? So, while you're building an SEO campaign, throw some money at Google Ads. When done properly, you'll get some calls coming in. It'll be cheaper than the lead gen, and they'll be yours. You can qualify them. A lot of guys out there don't see the need in SEO. You need it, all right? So if you've been burned in the past, those are my favorite clients because they've learned the hard lesson. They do know what it takes, and we're able to come in and be superheroes for them because we show them what really it really needs to look like to succeed when it comes to digital marketing. Your website's not ranking on Google. Look, if you're not on the first page of Google, you might as well not exist. All right. So you need to do it. And more so, you need to commit to the process. SEO is chess. It's not checkers. Remember, there's no really very rare instances where there's a direct response type of marketing, unless you're fire chasing, you're pulling up to people's homes that just burned down and throwing business cards all over the place. SEO is a long play. That's why we like to mix pay-per-click in there. While SEO is taking some time to build up, when done properly, it could take months. If your market is really saturated, it could take years to really dominate on the first page of Google. But you need to look, and that's why measuring and tracking the data and understanding what data you need to track is important, because you may not be getting calls right off the bat from SEO, and you might be pissed at your marketing agency when in reality, they're sending you these reports saying, hey, your keywords have moved up. You've got 7 or 8 more keywords that are on page 1. Things are really starting to move. Your traffic's growing, and you don't care because all you're focused on is how many phone calls you're getting. And I get it. That's a great metric. But you also, this goes into understanding what the process is and what the end goal is. All right. You're not going to go to a gym and say, hey, I need to lose 50 pounds. And the first month you go back like, hey man, I haven't lost 50 pounds yet. You're garbage, you trainer, and this gym sucks. I'm not working out no more. SEO is just like working out. And just like working out, once you get ripped or you reach your weight loss goals, you have to maintain it. You have competition. You have changes that happen, right? And you want Google to crawl your website more. So it's an ongoing process. Again, SEO should be step 1, right? So not committing to the process is a big one. Not understanding what SEO is about is another big one. That's something we see quite a bit. They've been burned. They're like, screw SEO. I'm not doing that anymore. It doesn't do nothing. And that always usually comes with a bad vendor. Whether it's an individual person that hired that says SEO, everybody knows SEO. But remember, there's no magic pill to it. It takes work, and it's checkers. I mean, it's chess, not checkers. All right. So if you've been burned, you've used a bad vendor, that's probably why you're not utilizing SEO and pay-per-click. The other big one, you're not properly managing or taking advantage of Google Business Profile, the marketing channel formerly known as Google My Business. That's right. December, January, they changed their name, sweeping algorithm update that directly affects the correlation between your Google Business Profile listing and management to your organic traffic. And those two things used to not be coupled together. Now they're like this, right? And if you just listening, I'm putting my hands together because that means they go hand in hand. All right. So it's not a set it and forget it type of deal. In the past, yes, people would just claim their profile, throw some pictures up, verify their address, and boom, they just never touch it ever again. And that's not the case. Google wants you to use that platform to connect with their user base. It helps on so many different levels from a conversion standpoint. And now it is the biggest cause of your maps rankings, which, in the service industry, ranking on the maps in that 3-pack, forget it. You're killing it. So if you can cover your organic rankings and your maps rankings and you got ads up there, I mean, what else is there, right? Well, that's when it comes to the web design and converting traffic. But you got to get there. So there's no such thing as set it and forget it anymore. People aren't getting reviews. It's huge, guys. Get reviews. It is a ranking factor, and it helps people make their buying decisions. And more so, if you're going to get the reviews, make sure you're responding to them, good or bad. I've made a ton of videos about this. It's important. Go back to the set it and forget it. You're not optimizing these pages properly. A lot of people we see, again, they set it and forget it. They don't manage it. They're not uploading photos. You're not utilizing the posting feature that they give you on your Google Business Profile. There's also a messaging feature where consumers can message you directly for mold quotes, for water damage quotes. These are legit leads coming in right from Google. They're cutting out the middleman. They're not even visiting your website. They're checking out your Google Business, looking at your photos. If you're properly optimized and you got reviews, they're going to read some of your reviews, see how you're responding, and they're going to shoot you a message right there. You need to follow up on it right away. It's no different than checking your phone, your voicemail. You can't turn your phone off on a Thursday, wake up Tuesday and start checking your messages and following up. There's a good chance that if you did get leads into your phone, they're probably going to be soaked up by somebody else. It's a big part of your marketing, what you need to be doing. The big three: Google Business Profile, search engine optimization, and pay-per-click. That's the holy grail. All right. And now that Google Business Profile and SEO, as far as the organic rankings, are so tightly tied together, more so than ever, it's almost, there's no question you have to be doing it. Okay. And we've got a ton of resources about that as well. How to do it yourself. It's a lot of this is common sense, but a lot of it takes time. I know how to change my own oil. I know how to do a lot of things in my own house, but I only have time to do so many things, or other things are going to fall. It's almost like those guys that spin plates on the sticks. You can only manage a few of those at sometimes. Some people are really good at spinning plates. I'm not. I'm going to spin some really fast and I got to jump over here and jump around there. It's not going to work out very well. I'm going to have a lot of broken plates, a lot of broken dishes, and a lot of pissed off people. So, think about the amount of work, and that's where educating yourself comes in. Soak up as much knowledge about this stuff as possible so you can put a value on what this is to your business. You know that you're going to spend money that's good and it's going somewhere and you're going to get a return on your investment. All right. The other big one. I see this a lot. Guilty of it as well. Imagine a commercial. Do you suffer from shiny new object syndrome? Do you get easily distracted by things that are shiny and new? Well, if you do, you're like most people out there, stop it. Shiny new object syndrome is a huge progress killer. It takes away from your consistency that you need in your marketing, takes away from things that you should be doing on a hope, right? It's like buying a lottery ticket. It's like, well, yeah, I could work and build a career and save money and invest properly, or I could buy this lottery ticket and not do none of that crap and just hope one day that this thing hits. Well, like the lottery, There's a 99.999% chance that this shiny new object that you're looking at and you're stopping all your other stuff, you're spinning all your plates and then you move those away to go grab a basketball and start bouncing it. It's not going to work out good in your benefit, right? So you need to make sure that you don't suffer from shiny new object syndrome. You got to commit to what works. We know that SEO, Google Business Profile, and pay-per-click, it's just how people are finding businesses now. So we've seen, God, in the time that I've owned marketing agencies and owned different businesses, there's been it's almost, you can't even count on two hands how many new plugins or marketing things or CRMs or marketing automation things that have come out that are going to change the game. They're going to get you all those leads. They're going to just, it's just a magic pill. Everybody's looking for a magic pill. There's no such thing. And if there is, it's widely adopted and it's not so magic anymore. Everybody's doing it and it just becomes like everything else, right? It causes people to jump ship from what they should be doing too early, not giving SEO the amount of time to marinate properly to where it's going to get you those organic rankings. There's only one way to get organic rankings on the first page of Google. There's no way around it. There's no magic pill. You're not making rational decisions. I've had multiple clients in the past. And again, I've been guilty of this. So I'm not dogging on anybody at all. I do it a lot. But I've learned the hard way. And so have most of them, where we get the call, hey, we just went to a seminar. Man, this guy had this thing. It's supposed to do X, Y, Z. It's going to spit out this content on our website. It is actually specific to the restoration. It's going to spit out this content on the website. It's spinning it. It's doing all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And it's okay, great. So it creates 60 pieces of content for your website every single month. Well, who's going to optimize it? Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I got to talk to the guy. There is no way. And then, all of a sudden, if it does work, something like that, you're really technically circumventing Google's, what they want for their best practices. They don't want AI generated content. They want you to write the content. If you can't, as a business owner or as a marketing agency, write content that is going to rank and be optimized, then they don't want a computer writing it, which is kind of funny because Google uses a lot of AI for everything. So it's kind of funny that they don't like AI. But at the end of the day, there is no magic pill. I've seen it in the restoration industry. Some guy comes up, they meet a software guy and they're spitting out content and they're doing all this stuff. And it may work really, really well. But at some point, it's going to get shut down. Google will catch up. It will catch up with you. So you got to think about it like this. Do I want leads for the next 2 months and just be dominating? And then all of a sudden I am blacklisted. I'm delisted from Google. Is that your goal? Right. And then you're starting completely over from scratch. No. So it's always a long play. Again, it's sticking to your plan. I can't say that enough. There's no magic pill. Don't become distracted. There's always going to be that next big thing. Always. There's always going to be it. And I'm not saying don't do your due diligence and learn about it. Not at all. I think you should. I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you don't actually fully look into things like this. But don't let that shiny object syndrome stop you from doing what you need to be doing, what you know you need to be doing, what's tried and true in this world of digital marketing. Just because you have this new thing that's coming out or a new software doesn't mean fire your marketing agency and sign up for this $200 a month software. No, but hell, throw $200, throw $600, throw $1,000 at that. Try it out for a few months and see what happens. Cast a wide net. You got to take an omni-channel approach. So, I'll never tell somebody to not use something. I mean, it was before how do I use Facebook to market? I'm like, well, damn, you could keep that top of the mind mentality. There's restoration contractors on TikTok. There's so many different channels out there. I would try them all. But again, shiny new object syndrome can bite you in the ass because you get distracted and you neglect the things that need to happen. No different than, if you're marketing yourself, you're going to start, at some point, there's so much work that comes into properly digitally marketing your business. You're going to neglect something else that really is important. Okay. So what can you do? It's not all doom and gloom out there. It's pretty easy. Cover the basics. Basics, fundamental. Any marketing book you buy, any Facebook group you're in, there's going to be basics. There's going to be things that are consistent across the board. Typically, it's having a device responsive website that's built and optimized to convert traffic into sales. You need that. Well, what's that mean? Well, you want to be mobile ready, so mobile responsive. You want to have click the calls on your mobile. You want to make it very easy for somebody to get in touch with you. You got to have a separate page for each one of your services that's optimized, right? You want to rank well on Google. So you should be building a foundation using SEO, Google Business Profile, and pay-per-click. At the minimum, you need to be doing your Google Business and SEO, right? You need to be present in your business. Present meaning while you don't have to micromanage your digital marketing, but you should know enough about digital marketing for your business to be able to hold vendors or employees accountable. Be present. Don't be the guy with your head in the sand. At some point, you're going to lift your head up out of the sand and the world's going to be on fire and you're going to be back right to square one. Make your marketing decisions based on analytics and data. Don't make decisions based off your feeling, mismanage expectations, or a shiny new object. Take an omnipresent approach. Don't just focus on one channel, right? Don't just, you may have been running Facebook ads for the last 5 years. Man, you're killing it. Well, a few months ago, Facebook went down. What happened then? You have to have a backup plan built up into a backup plan. Cover the basics. SEO, rank well on page 1 of Google. Hell yeah, run them Facebook ads if they're working. You should have a YouTube. You should be making videos. Omnichannel, everywhere. You don't want to just have a billboard or just have business cards. That's how I'm marketing my business. I got business cards. That doesn't work anymore. There's no the yellow pages and that kind of stuff out the door. And more so, you need to measure and track your analytics and your data. Got to have that plan. You got to have KPIs built into that plan. Take a step back weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever the case may be. Am I still on the path that I need to be to get to where I need to go? If you are, wonderful. If you're not, okay, well, let's look at the data and let's see what's happening here. Let's have a conference call. Let's look at my marketing a little bit deeper. Stuff is very important to be able to be successful. And that's why not doing these things is why your internet marketing or your marketing in general probably sucks. The other thing you could do is we got a free checklist that kind of covers all of this stuff. All right. This is a free download right on my website, ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. Just go on there, put your email in, you'll get an email with it. Go through the list from top to bottom. It is a list built onto the things that you need to be making sure from a fundamental level. It doesn't get too deep, what you need to be doing for your website and to win with digital marketing. If you're a DIY guy, you feel like staying up at night teaching yourself this stuff, which I love it. I got a book available on Amazon. I just published. I'm really proud of. It's a second version of this same book, The No BS Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. It'll teach you how to get more leads and sales for your restoration business by getting your internet marketing right. Turn off the suck. Let's turn on the real stuff. At least you can get your head out of the sand, read the book. It's cheap enough. It's definitely worth it. I put a lot of energy into this book. It's things have changed a lot since I released the book. The reason I did the revised copy, because the funny story is as soon as I published the first book, Google released a core algorithm update. So here I went, spent another year revising and changing and just trying to just be in front of everything. And we published this next one this past January 2022. Lo and behold, there's been some more changes. So there's another one coming out. I don't know if I'm going to use the same title again. I think we're going to change it up a little bit, but this is a good start. I would be comfortable enough to getting this book, not knowing anything and starting a business, building everything from scratch. And this book should be, get to you to where you need to go. Now, the little changes in between, that's why we have continuing education and we're on top of everything as far as the search engine changes. Join some email lists. Search Engine Land's a great one. Gives you some new things that are coming out. I mean, it's some of the brightest digital marketing minds in the world contribute to this newsletter and the website, and you'll learn for yourself, right? Don't let anybody take advantage of you with the ambiguity of this service. All right. And if you really need help, you can call my company, Ironclad Restoration Marketing. We provide free website audits anyways. You have nothing to lose. You can either send us an email, shoot us a DM on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever the case may be. All we need is your email, like a phone number to get in touch with somebody in your website URL. One of my team members will make you a free video analysis. There's no strings attached. You don't have to buy anything. It doesn't cost any money. We'll make it for you and we'll email it over so you can get an idea of what it is that you need to improve on, what you might be doing well, and how we may be able to help. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you tuning in to the Restoration Rundown, and why your marketing sucks. And hopefully we gave you some ideas of what you could do about it. That's it for today. We've got some really cool episodes coming up in our new office, the new digs, the new studio. We're really excited to bring some special guests on coming up pretty soon. Hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Like, follow, share, leave us a review. I would love it. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon.